Hey guys, welcome to this session by Intellipaat. We all know about the top two cloud providers in the world, AWS and Azure. So there is a lot of competition between which is the number one cloud provider. So that's exactly what we are going to look into this session. We'll start off with a brief introduction to cloud computing and why do we need it, and then we'll move on to the actual comparison between AWS and Azure. Also guys, before moving on with this session, please subscribe to our channel so that you don't miss our upcoming videos, and also leave a like if you like our content. Now without any further delays, let's begin with this session. In this session, we'll be comparing AWS and Azure in the year 2021. So we'll basically be comparing right now, and also we'll be predicting what is going to happen in the future, and also by looking into the past and future trends and also current trends, we'll be basically comparing these two services and also understand what are the similarities between these two services. Before moving on with this particular session, please subscribe to our channel so that you don't miss our upcoming videos, and also basically motivate us to put in more effort and put in more content every single day. Also leave a like if you like the content which we do. Also guys, if you have any queries, please comment it down below. We'll love to help you out. And also we will have a very interactive session. There are some quizzes at the end. I would suggest, or I will love to get the answers from you so that I will know how much you understand and how much you are into these sessions. So now let's get started. First, let's understand what is AWS and what is Azure before moving on. So most of you would have already know this, only then you would have come into this session to basically understand the difference between these two. So the first thing you would already know is that both of them are cloud providers. So AWS is owned by Amazon and Azure is owned by Microsoft. So now coming to AWS is the number one cloud provider according to the public cloud share. That is the percentage of companies, the money involved in AWS is around 32% right now. So it is the maximum, and that's why AWS is the leader for the cloud industry for the past 10 to 15 years. Now coming to Azure. So Azure is owned by Microsoft and Azure comes second only to AWS. So they are second in the cloud race, and they are again the same type of technology. So Azure is provided by Microsoft, but even then they are just a cloud provider like AWS. So both provide similar services. Even though they provide similar services, they are basically two different entities with owned by two different companies, providing various services which are basically named differently, but their functionality is going to be the same. So that we'll see later. So now I think you get the point. AWS and Azure are cloud providers owned by Amazon and Microsoft respectively. AWS is the number one in cloud market share, and AWS is number two. And these two are the major cloud providers in the entire cloud computing industry. So now the introduction. The first point I want to talk about is the similarities between these two services. So I already told you they are both cloud providers. Second, they have variety of services and most of the services are similar. So the name of the service can be different, but the functionality or the service provided by that particular tool is going to be the same. So that's the first point which I wanted to talk before moving on to the comparison. Okay, I think you get the point right now. They are both cloud providers and have similar services. So now let's start. First, the launch date. AWS launched in the year 2006 and Azure launched in the year 2010. So basically in technology years, 4 years is a very long gap, and that is one of the main reasons AWS has captured a lot of businesses and are in the lead in the cloud computing race. So now AWS came into the cloud industry with EC2 and S3 as their first projects or their first tools which were out for the public, and in 2010 Azure came up with their basic services like virtual machines, Azure storage, Azure databases. So they came up with their own services. This was the launch date. There is a 4-year gap between AWS and Azure. Now coming to another important point, which is regions. So now talking about regions, why should we talk about regions? So that's the first question. So AWS have multiple data centers, Azure has multiple data centers, but what exactly are these data centers? So AWS has 77 availability zones in 24 geographical regions across the globe. So basically AWS has 24 geographical regions, and in those 24 geographical regions they have 77 different availability zones or data centers. So these availability zones are the ones which have the physical servers, all the physical components which are required to basically launch servers, database engines, or storage units. So all of these are available in these locations. So over here you can see 3, 2, 4, 1, 3. Basically in this location, I think this is North Virginia, there are 6 availability zones, and in these locations there are 3 respectively, 3, 3, 4, then most of it is 3, and basically the green ones are upcoming regions. Right now they are not available, they are upcoming regions which are being built right now. So AWS are the cloud provider who have the maximum number of availability zones in the world. So now, why is availability zones really important? Let's say you are from India, you're launching an application in India and it's very successful and your customer base is growing even out of the country. So now when that is happening, you want to expand your application to a global audience. Now if you're using an on-premise setup with your own data center, a small data center, so in this case, you'll have to buy more servers to accommodate more users, or you'll have to buy the servers in whichever location or whichever country in which you're going to basically extend your application. You'll have to buy a data center over there, or you'll have to buy a location, buy a space and set up a data center over there. But instead of doing that, if you're using AWS or if you're using Azure, in that case, you can use their global infrastructure and set up your application anywhere in the world just by sitting in your own office. So you can do that across the globe and you can basically engage your application with the global audience. Now this is availability zones. Now Azure availability zones, there are 60 different availability zones, but they are in 60 different regions, which is most by any cloud provider. So even though AWS were early in the cloud business, Microsoft were early in the tech business. Microsoft came into the tech business way before Amazon came into it. So Amazon first launched as an e-commerce website, not a tech website or a website which provides cloud services. So Microsoft was already having a wide infrastructure across the world, so they were able to build their architecture accordingly. So their cloud infrastructure has grown across the globe at 60 different regions. So why 60 different regions? So let me give you a brief example. For example, over here in India, you can see there are 3 different availability zones in one particular region, which is in Mumbai. But if you look at India in Azure, over here you can see West India, Central India, and South India. So they have 3 different basically availability zones in 3 different regions, which can be helpful for a low latency in applications. So let's say your application is mostly concentrated on South India, you can host it on the South Indian data center. If it is Central India, or if you want to concentrate on the whole India, you can basically put in all of the data centers. Or if you just want to concentrate on the north side of India or west side of India, you can go ahead with west or central. Same goes with every single availability zone or every single region available across. Okay, so also you can see this dotted lines, right? And over here where you can see that, so dotted lines over here, they are small, but still there are dotted lines. So these dotted lines basically represent that there is going to be a data center there very soon. So they're also building data centers and they are continuing to improve the infrastructure in a global level. So this is the difference. They have 77 availability zones, but in 24 geographical regions. Microsoft has 60 availability zones, lesser than AWS, but they have it in 60 different regions. That's the main difference. So now, also at the beginning of 2019, AWS had 54 availability zones. Right now they have 77, but at the beginning they had 54. And Azure had 44 availability zones. So both of them have grown pretty wildly, 54 to 77 right now. Azure had 44 to 60 right now. And coming to 2021, so AWS are planning to basically build 18 more availability zones in 6 more regions, and Azure are planning to get 8 more availability zones in 3 more Azure regions. So they're still planning more regions. I'm just coming up with a number which has been provided right now. So this is the past and the future, guys. So you can see how rapidly they're growing. In just a single year, they have grown. Basically, they have developed more than 20 data centers. So AWS has grown from 54 to 77, more than 20 data centers in just 2 years. And same goes with Azure. From 44 they went to 60. 14 data centers they increased within just 2 years. So start of 2019 to the end of 2020. So now 2021, again as promised, they are going to bring in more availability zones and regions. Coming to the next one, which is the market share. So why do we talk about market share? So because as a common person, it doesn't matter. You can choose any of the cloud service that you want and you can start working on it and you can get a job in it. But why do we talk about market share? So let me tell you. So first, whenever the market share for a particular business is high, that basically means a lot of businesses or a lot of companies are using that particular technology. So let's say AWS, if their market share or their spending on that particular cloud provider AWS is high, in that case a lot of companies are investing in AWS. So now if a lot of companies are investing in AWS, that basically means you have an abundance of jobs in various companies. So even though, so here you can see 20% to 19%, 31 to 32%. So the growth, some years it is increasing, some year it is decreasing. So this was just in 1 month. So sorry, this was Q2 of 2020. Then after 3 months, Q3 of 2020, they grown by 1% and they got reduced by 1%. Google Cloud grown by 1%. Even Alibaba Cloud grew by 1%. So if you go with the AWS or Azure or Google Cloud, you have a lot of companies who are working with them. You can basically get into a job with them. And one more reason why you'll have to look into market share is the spending, which is increasing every single year. So from Q2 to Q3, the growth was 32.5% in spending. It went from 34.6 billion to 36.5 billion. And over here, it is 27.5 billion in Q3 of 2019. So in 1 year, it basically increased by $10 billion. One more thing is from Gartner. So the Magic Quadrant for cloud infrastructure and platform services. So whenever a tool is in the top right corner, so Amazon Web Services is in top right corner. So this basically means they are visionaries and they are leaders. So Microsoft, Google, Amazon Web Services all come under this category, that is leaders and visionaries. But the leading leaders are Amazon Web Services and the leading visionaries are Amazon Web Services according to Gartner. Now challengers, there are no challengers right now. So niche players, they basically play on their particular role. So Alibaba Cloud or Oracle or IBM or Tencent Cloud, they basically have their cloud services which can accommodate their own company's infrastructure and the companies which are using similar services. And so that's why they are called niche players. They only play on that particular area. They don't move out of their expertise. But AWS, Microsoft and Google are basically exploring the entire industry. So from healthcare, from retail to IT companies, so every single place they have put down their stamp. Now we've looked at the current graphs. So we looked at the expenditure and the market share, and we looked at the Magic Quadrant. Now what are the future predictions for the public cloud infrastructure? So it will improve by 35% to $120 billion in the year 2021. So over here we can see the increase. So this is from 2018 to 2020. So this is the percentage increase, and these are different services. So this is business process services, cloud management and security services, cloud application services, cloud application infrastructure services, cloud system and infrastructure services. So this is basically platform as a service, infrastructure as a service, software as a service. So now you can see the spending in infrastructure as a services keep on increasing. That basically means the companies are moving towards a cloud first approach than an on-premise data center. So now this is again from Gartner. So 2018 to 2020 predictions, and in 2021 it would be 35%. The growth will be 35%, and the overall industry's basically value would be $120 billion. So it's increasing every single year. So there is no surprise element over here. I just wanted to show what would be the future of the cloud industry. So again, when the cloud industry is growing, I would suggest you to get in on it so that you can basically grow with the cloud industry. Also guys, if you haven't subscribed to us already, please subscribe to our channel. If you like our content, leave a like at the video, and also comment down if you like the video, or if you want to comment down anything else. If you're on the PPT, again comment down. There is we'll basically love to help you out in whichever way possible. So now coming to the next point, which are the clients. So now Amazon Web Services top clients are Netflix, Twitch, LinkedIn, and Facebook. So I think most probably you would know these 4 different services or 4 different websites. So Netflix is the top media streaming platform in the world. Twitch is the top live streaming platform in the world. LinkedIn is the top, let's say, job connectivity or job finding portal as well in the world. And Facebook is the largest social media network in the world. So 4 of these companies are using Amazon Web Services for their cloud needs. And for Azure, the top spending companies or the top companies who are using Azure are BMW, Twitter, Samsung, and eBay. Again, you would obviously know all of these companies. They are top companies who are using Azure for their cloud needs. So if you are working good enough, you can basically get into these companies as an Azure architect, or you can get into the previous companies which I mentioned, Netflix, Facebook, or LinkedIn, or even eBay or Twitter. So you can get into these companies if you are a cloud architect or a cloud developer or an administrator, whatever it is, you can get into these companies and basically get a high salary. Now coming to services, I'm going to compare the 3 services, top 3 services. Basically they are similar. That's why I wanted to show you like the difference between AWS and Azure. Now AWS, the relevant services is EC2, and in Azure it is Azure Virtual Machine. So both of these services basically provide a secure, scalable, and reliable compute capacity. There is a server in the cloud. You can basically create a server as per your needs on the cloud. So if you want to do it in AWS, the service you'll have to go for is EC2. If it is in Azure, the service you'll have to go for is Azure Virtual Machines. The next one is storage. So in Azure, you'll have to go to Azure Blob Storage. In AWS, you'll have to go to AWS S3 or AWS Simple Storage Service. So again, these 2 are similar services. S3 basically uses object storage. You can see the similarity over here. Object storage built to store and retrieve any amount of data from anywhere. Massively scalable and secure object storage for cloud native workloads, archives, and data lakes. So basically any amount of data lakes, archives, they are all similar, just different explanations or different definitions for the same service, but they are provided by 2 different organizations. Finally, I just wanted to show this relational databases, relational database service from AWS, and SQL databases from Azure. So what is the difference between relational database and an SQL database? So they both use SQL, and they are both database engines. So set up, operate, and scale a relational database in the cloud with just a few clicks. Build apps that scale with the pace of your business with managed and intelligent SQL in the cloud. So basically you can create a cloud engine over here or over here. You can create a database on the cloud which is scalable. So you can set it up as scalable automatically. So it won't matter. It'll automatically scale up for you. So these 2 are similar because in this case, again, you are creating databases, different names provided by 2 different cloud providers, but the same service. So in this case, they have similar services. The only major part is that AWS provide more services than Azure. AWS provide more than 150 plus services right now because, again, saying that they have a 4 years lead in the industry, in the cloud computing industry. That's why they are leading by a lot. Even Azure provides a lot of services. They provide 100 plus services, not as much as AWS. So the services part I wanted to show because they have similar services, but again they have a variety of services, both of these cloud providers. So you can go with any of them. In the year 2021, both of them are growing at a really fast pace, and other cloud services are trying to catch up with them, but they're not able to. AWS and Azure are still growing. So you can go ahead and take up AWS or Azure. There is no problem in taking up any of these cloud providers. Coming to the next part is pricing models. So now pricing models is one of the important factors before considering a cloud tool. In AWS, you have a pay-as-you-go model completely. It basically means whatever you use, you will pay for that at the end of the month. So you'll start with 0 credit. As you use services, it will basically succumb up to a particular value or a particular amount of money which you'll be paying at the end of the month. So even Azure has pay as you go, you can opt for that, or there are also subscriptions where you can basically take up subscriptions which have certain credit limits within Azure. So you can use that credit limit to basically go ahead and use any Azure service which you want. So Azure has two different types. AWS has only pay as you go. Now, I wanted to compare the pricing for Azure and AWS. So for 4 virtual CPUs and 16 gigabyte memory, the on-demand Linux instance in AWS will cost you $0.1856, but the same type of instance in Azure will cost you only $0.1690. So now just considering these two values, they are quite small and there's no much difference. It's just like 0.0015 or something like that, the difference. But if it basically if your server is running for 24/7 and there are hundreds of servers with the same specifications, basically that will save you a lot of money if you are using Azure in this case. But again, there is one more difference, that is in AWS you'll get more discounts if you're basically taking up a 1-year reserved or a 3-year reserved instance, and that basically means you will get a dedicated server where you can run instances at any time, and that can save you 42% of the money, and in Azure it can save you around 36% of the money. So AWS would be cheaper for the long run. Azure will be cheaper if you're going to use on-demand instances. One more part is that in AWS you'll be charged by the hour. That is, even though you have used a particular service for just 1 minute, even in that case, you'll be charged by the hour. So you'll have to pay the hour rate. But in Azure, you'll only be charged the minute rate. So if you're using only for 2 minutes, you will only pay for the 2 minutes you have used. You will not pay for the complete hour. So AWS uses hourly rate, Azure uses minute rate. So we've seen this. So before moving on, so you can go ahead and visit these two sites, aws.com, aws.amazon.com/new or azure.microsoft.com/ this is basically for India. You can basically check out just updates. You can basically check out the newest updates which are coming out for AWS and Azure. They are basically in the latest article at first. So whichever change has been made recently, that will be at the top, and you can get to know more about the changes or the changes of services in AWS and Azure. Okay, now coming to the last part of this particular session. So now an investment in knowledge always pays the best interest. So if you're investing your time, that basically means you want to gather and learn some free articles. So I would suggest you to go ahead and check our blog, intellipaat.com/blog, or go to our YouTube channel, Intellipaat, and basically start learning from there for free. If you start understanding AWS and Azure, and then you can basically move ahead with the next step, which is getting into a professional training or getting into a company so that you can learn more in that company itself. So no issues about that. So talking about Intellipaat blogs, you have content on AI, you have content on machine learning, you have content on NLP, you have on cloud computing, data science, even statistics. We have so much of content, you can go ahead and check it. On our YouTube channel, again, we have courses on AWS, Azure, we have courses on AI, data science, ML, everything. Also, you can check out our website, intellipaat.com. So over there, we again provide these courses. You can go ahead and check over there for more of these content. Okay, so as we've seen this, before ending the session, I wanted to end the session with a quiz so that I can get to know your involvement as well. So first, let's start off with the most basic question. What type of cloud service is Gmail? So if you'd have listened to the video at the beginning, you would have basically guessed it. You basically know what it is. So let me just give the full form. So first one, IaaS, is infrastructure as a service. Second comes software as a service. Third comes platform as a service. Fourth comes function as a service. Now think for a minute. I'll give you 2 seconds, or pause the video and think for a minute. Say the right answer. So now, what is the answer? It's going to be software as a service, because Gmail is a software hosted on a cloud network, which you don't know where it is hosted or what is the code of the software, but it is a software provided to you via the internet or via cloud. Second question, what is the cloud service which AWS and Azure are famous for? So I've already given you the full form of these services. Again, pause the video think the answer, try to answer this correctly, because this is pretty easy. AWS and Azure are famous for what services? The answer is infrastructure as a service. So because they both provide infrastructure services like servers, database engines, data warehouses, storage units, so they provide containers, they provide all of these infrastructural components which you can put together. They are famous for infrastructure as a service. So I've not explained to you about these, but you would already know about cloud, or you'd already know about AWS and Azure if you have entered this particular session. So that's what I'm assuming. So if you don't know any of these answers, go ahead and learn more about these. Now coming to the third question, which is which AWS service is used to create relational databases? So again, if you would have listened to this session, you would be able to answer this right now. Again, pause the video if you want to. So the right answer is going to be RDS, which is also called relational database service. So I just wanted to basically get your attention with simple questions so that you can answer them at the beginning and move ahead with the tough questions. So you can go ahead and learn tougher questions by your own. So now coming to the fourth question. So I have not covered this anywhere in this session. I want you to research somewhere in Google or however you do it. So pause the video, go ahead and research for this question and then come and answer. So the question is, which is the AWS service equivalent to Azure functions? So which is the service which is equivalent to Azure functions? Pause the video, go ahead, search for it, find the answer. First learn what is Azure functions and then check out what is the equivalent for Azure functions and answer it. So the answer is going to be Lambda. So AWS Lambda is the function which is equivalent to Azure functions, because Lambda and functions are serverless services provided by AWS. And the final question, which I'm not going to provide you the answer for, I would love your answer to be posted in the comment section so that we can basically put a heart to your comment if the answer is right. Please provide your answer in the comment section. So what is the Azure service which is the equivalent of AWS VPC? The answers are VPN gateway, VNet, AKS and data share. So these are the four services which are the options. So find the answer, put in the comment section, and we will heart your comment if the answer is right. So guys, we've come to the end of the session. I hope this session was helpful and informative. Also guys, again, I'm basically suggesting you this. If you want more of this content, please subscribe to our channel. Also leave a like. If you like our content, we'll again be pushing a video every single day for you guys to learn more about these technologies for free basically. And also if you want to know more about the certifications and the courses, you can call us at the top number for India, and you can call us at the toll-free number from any other country, not just US, any other country. And then if you don't want to call us, you can put down a mail at sales@intellipaat.com and we'll contact you immediately, or you can just go out to our website intellipaat.com, and over there at the bottom right corner there is a chat advisor which will pop up. You can start chatting over there and we'll basically get back to you immediately with a call. Okay guys, we've come to the end of this session. I hope this session was helpful and informative for you. If you have any queries, leave a comment down below and we'll love to help you out. Thank you. Meet you in another session.